Hello, my gaming brothers and sisters, and welcome back to the channel. As always, I am Jonathan, your host here at QuickBird Gaming, and I appreciate you tuning in for another episode of QuickBird News. We're going to cover all the gaming news of the week from August 31st to September 6th. I've got a few stories lined up for you. We've got Roblox that's continuing to struggle with age verification and some issues on their platform. We've got another Sony live service game that appears to be in trouble. Got some good news stories that we're going to cover at the end of the video. And if you are looking for something particular, as always, the timestamp for each story is listed in the description box down below. So feel free to run down there and find something that catches your eye and jump to it. But as you might have guessed, because of the events of this week, the big story of the week, we got to start off talking about it, and that is Silksong. So let's get into it. In case you've been living under a rock or have been offline for a few days, Silksong, Knight Silksong, released on Thursday, the 4th of September, and has absolutely done gangbusters. As this article from Insider Gaming from the same day indicates, that it takes Steam, Xbox, and the eShop offline as the downloads go live. There were so many people trying to purchase and download this game that it actually wrecked the storefronts. It couldn't keep up with the demand. Not a good sign for future consideration, considering about 8 months when GTA 6 goes online, it could face this similar problem times 10, but that's neither here nor there. Anyway, that just is an indicator of how popular this game was and how many people were eager to get their hands on it. It was, this year, the most wishlisted game on Steam, for example, so a lot of people were really loving it. And flip over to this Eurogamer article from Friday the 5th of September. They said, Silksong is so popular, even pirates are urging others not to pirate the game. They said the game, which was DRM-free, was quickly cracked. They said, post in the piracy Reddit titled, "That was fast. The community notes Silksong was cracked within 15 minutes of release." And, however, in a rather wholesome turn for the books, the pirates community is actually encouraging others to buy the game rather than pirate it. It's a 3 to 4 person team done right by their fans, making sure the PC release is DRM free, making sure all original backers of Hollow Knight get Silksong free from their choice of platform. This is a time where if we can afford to support them, we should. Hey, the game is pretty cheap. This one we should not pirate. This reply, according to the author, made them smile. Team Cherry has done so well that even our piracy members are buying their game. Whether or not that Silksong is the type of game you're interested in playing, from a Metroidvania or a Souls-like angle, or the art style just doesn't appeal to you, whatever, it's impossible to deny the impact this has had. It's impossible to deny the amount of hype that has been built to this game, and things seem to be, in so far for the first weekend, generally the game has been really well received. It has lived up to the hype for most people. We can hop over to the Steam database and then verifying this is Silksong, because I have had somebody say you never show the game title on the Steam DB page, so how do we know what we're looking at? Okay, this is Silksong, and you can see as of Saturday night on the 6th of September, Saturday night Pacific time, you can see the game hit almost 600,000 players concurrently just on Steam earlier today, and it's still just going great. This game has already sold millions of copies and is going to be an unbridled success. And at $20, it has basically been a godsend for players who are sick of overpriced, underperforming games. However, not all was well with the Silksong release. As this article posted on Saturday, the 6th of September over at PC Gamer points out, Hollow Knight Silksong sinks to mixed Steam review status among Chinese gamers over its bafflingly bad translation, with Team Cherry promising to improve it. As reported by Eurogamer, Hollow Knight Silksong has not met Chinese players' expectations the way it has globally, with a 42% mixed review status from 20,000 users who say the game's localization was uniquely poor. Team Cherry has responded to the issue, promising to work on Chinese localization. And there's the tweet from Matthew Griffin from Team Cherry, basically saying we are aware of this and we're going to work on it. The reception among Chinese-speaking reviewers sharply contrasts with Silksong reviews in all of their languages it's available in. This has created an overall 80% very positive rating, at least on Steam, for 80,000 reviews. If you go look at the Steam reviews, just in the English language, it's about 93% positive. So you can see that this has created a significant impact on the game's overall rating because of this localization. They say some commenters on Griffin's post have tried to elaborate the specific issues at hand. Tiger Tang, who led the Chinese localization of the 2020 RPG Omori, wrote the main issues in Silksong's localization are creative, not grammatical. The current Silksong Chinese translation reads like a wuxia novel instead of conveying the game's tone, he said. It's not about effort, taste, but taste and direction. And speaking from experience, it likely can't be fixed without replacing the translator. And this article goes on and talks about some of the other localization issues that this is having right now. So this is actually a very baffling issue. I'm not sure how they quite overlooked this. The article does point out that they had 2 translators for Chinese localization as opposed to 6 for the original Hollow Knight. That may have had something to do with it. I don't know how they fixed this. Basically, without replacing their translators and doing a complete full retranslation of the game. But, and like I said, this is somewhat confusing as to how this fell through the cracks, considering everything else has been going so well for them. This is just something they're going to have to work on and fix. Hopefully, it'll chalk it up as a lesson learned for future games. Meanwhile, while we're talking about that, we can also flip over to this IGN article, which was published on Friday, the 5th of September. Indie developers are worried Silksong's $20 price tag will make it harder to price their games. And I'm going to do the best to control my temper here while I read this. Okay, with Silksong out now, many players are celebrating its unexpectedly low $20 price tag, but some independent developers are pointing out that this could lead to unreasonable expectations for other games that can't afford to sell that low. In one Blue Sky thread, unbeatable director RJ Lake says that Silksong should cost $40. I'm not even joking. Millions of people will probably buy it on day one. It was a game that had a very low budget, blah, 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 blah. They can price however low as they want as a result, okay? But charging such a low amount, they are causing lizard brain signals to fire off saying this kind of game is worth $20. You should expect the game for $20. If enough of these lizard brain signals fire, some kinds of game with actual budgets to pay people who need to live are going to get priced out of existence until they can get the organic groundswell you can't plan for. Okay, a lot of other indie devs think that Lake might have a point here. Over on Twitter X, the Basti Games, a developer of Lone Fungus, Melody of Spores asked the audience how much Lone Fungus should cost given Silksong's $20 price. He had been originally planning on making it for $20 too, but because it's shorter in length than Silksong, should it be cheaper? So he just asked the question. Most of the replies basically said, dude, just price it for $20. It'll be fine. So anyway, this goes down here, but people are saying that they're complaining about this. And it's really just kind of given Silksong a little bit of bad blood inside the industry. All right, if you'll permit me to go off script for a moment, I'd really like to talk about this concept around pricing of indie games, because when I read articles like this IGN article and these quotes by RJ Lake and other developers, I really think they're missing the fundamental point of what's going on here. I know they're looking at this out of concern for their own bottom line and developers not being able to afford to live on the prices they feel like they're having to be put out, but that's really not the point here. Indie games have a really rich history of pricing at this particular price point. I think if you want to look at what's arguably the most successful indie game in terms of sales, which would be Stardew Valley, and I'm I am purposefully excluding Minecraft here because it's a whole different animal. Stardew Valley has always been at $15. And I think it's sold upwards of 40 million copies. It has always been at $15. And so it has set a precedent out there. You think about games like Terraria, which were always priced low. Just in the last year, you could say games like Schedule 1 and Balatro and Peak and Another Crab's Treasure and Atlas, ATYLSS, I believe. All of these games were made by one person, one dev, or a small team, and they were all priced at $20 and below. All of them have been very successful. And you know what? Absolutely none of them have stopped people from buying games at a higher price. There has been no problem with people continuing to buy games at a higher price if it's a game they want. I really think it's not a question of dollar. It's a question of game value per dollar, if you want to put it in these terms. You look at if you start kind of creeping up past what true indies and kind of the AA space, you look at a game like Expedition 33, which sold at $50 and had zero price, selling millions of copies. Mafia Old Country released a couple weeks back. It sold 800,000 copies in its first 5 days, and it's probably over 1 million by now. It was a shorter game, 20 to 30 hour game, and it was priced at $50. No problems there. You can think about other games like RimWorld or Rust or Factorio, games that have zero problems selling in the $30 to $40 to $50 range because they're offering the player value. And that's really what it comes down to. I think a lot of people will buy a $20 game. It doesn't have to be as long or as polished as Silksong, but they'll buy $20 if they feel like they can have fun with it. They'll buy it for $30 if they feel like they can have fun with it. And, the Oblivion remaster was it $40 or $50? Sold a lot of copies. These games don't have to be at a high price don't have to be at a low price, rather, in order for players to buy them. If you feel like you have a good game as a developer and you feel like you need to price it at $40, price it at $40. If it's good, people will buy it. When I read these comments from these developers, they come off, and I'm not saying they're saying this because I don't think they are, but it comes across to players like they're asking us to accept substandard products for a higher price. Don't expect us to be as good at Silksong, and we have to price at $40 in order to survive, and you need to buy it at that price. That's not a winning message. That's not going to go anywhere. And I really feel, like I said, I feel like they're missing the boat with this. If you provide a good gaming value for the dollar, most gamers will respond and buy your game. That's really the bottom line. There's no way around that. The problem is that I do think gamers are going to get more selective. We're entering an era where it seems like every year people have less and less disposable income. And even though I love video games, they're my favorite hobby, I recognize that they are a luxury. They're not a necessity. And when people have to, argue between buying another game or putting food on the table, they're going to choose the latter. So you have to make sure that your game, if you want it to be competitive, is up to snuff. And you can't sit there and cry and say, well, we're not Silksong, but please support us. It's not going to work like that. It has never worked like that. You have to build a better game, and you have to start getting it more and more right. If your game is good enough, though, people are going to buy it. That's all there is to it. And, even if you price it at $40, it doesn't have to be Silksong. You just may not sell 20 million copies of it. And then, unfortunately, that's just the reality. So I do think they're missing the boat with this, and I do think it comes across kind of as whining and complaining. And in other words, in sour grapes. So, all right. End of rant. Back to the news. Okay, we're going to leave the Silksong story for a while. We got some other things to talk about, including this GameSpot article from Friday the 5th of September. Roblox will age verify all players who use voice chat by the end of the year. And according to this article, the developers of Roblox have announced plans to introduce comprehensive age verification for all players who wish to communicate in-game, using a combination of facial age estimation technology, ID, verified parental consent. Once these systems are in place, Roblox has promised to introduce more safety tools to prevent children from playing with adults they don't know in real life, etc., etc. They said these changes will make Roblox compliant with the UK's Online Safety Act from early August. These changes come after Roblox has come under legislative scrutiny after a report from Bloomberg exposed a PDF file problem on the platform. Congressman Ro Khanna promoted a petition in August to demand Roblox do more to prevent child abuse. And they're saying in March, the Roblox CEO and co-founder David Baszucki responded to the allegations saying, "My first message would be if you're not comfortable, don't let your kids on Roblox," which prompted criticism from parents. So Roblox is apparently, at least superficially, trying to take this problem seriously. But there are skeptics, and if you kick over to this Insider Gaming article from Thursday the 4th of September, Kita's CEO says Roblox age verification measures are easily bypassed and are not the full answer. Despite Roblox's best intentions to protect children with the new age verifications, Kita's CEO Ron Kurbs believes it's not enough and has told Insider Game that Roblox needs to incorporate real-time behavioral monitoring. And Kiddus is apparently a cybersecurity company committed to enhancing the safety of young gamers in the digital realm. Okay, employing these tools and these tools. Their company goal is to protect kids and young gamers from online predators. And this is a quote from that CEO. Their age verification is a step in the right direction, but not a full answer. While technology like facial analysis and ID scans can help restrict access to mature content, these tools are still easily bypassed and don't address the most pressing issues kids face online every day. So the reality here is that Roblox is still in a lot of trouble here. They're in a world of hurt because this issue is just getting more and more visibility. I covered it a couple of weeks back where they had banned a YouTube creator, and a Roblox player named Schlep, who had been exposing and coordinating with law enforcement to help expose and get arrested some of these predators. And rather than congratulating him, working with him, or even just saying, look, we appreciate your efforts, stop it, they threatened him legally. Roblox did. That's a bad look. That says to a lot of people, we're more interested in sweeping this under the rug for appearances rather than actually dealing with the predator problem on our platform. And I have watched people, notably Asmund Gold, who went into Roblox just by himself and was immediately seeing all kinds of weird shit that kids should not be allowed to see, but apparently they could. Now, I take this quote from this CEO with a kind of a grain of salt, because obviously somebody whose company is involved in cybersecurity, especially to protect children, is going to tell a company, your efforts are not good enough to protect children, because he's trying to promote his product. It's a cynical view, but I have to kind of take that into consideration when I hear him speak. At the same time, there is a clear problem with Roblox. I mean, aside from Rokana being involved, they've been banned in multiple countries in the last few weeks, including Turkey and Qatar. You've got U.S. congressmen looking into this issue, and you've got Chris Hansen, like To Catch a Predator. Chris Hansen is actually making a documentary about this. That is way more exposure than Roblox really wants right now. So they need to deal with this, and I don't believe these efforts are going to be adequate. This problem is going to persist until they really take a stance. And to do that, I think they're going to have to really change their perspective at the top. Because right now, they're given the perspective that it's not an important issue. They're band-aiding it. They need to tourniquet it. Next, we have this article from IGN published on Monday, 1 September. Sony's live service ambitions take another blow as Fairgame's creative director leaves Haven Studios mid-development. The fate of PlayStation's upcoming live service game, Fairgames, is once again under scrutiny, as its creative director, Daniel Drapeau, my apologies if I mispronounce that, has confirmed he has left Haven Studios to join Warner Brothers Montreal. It's the second high-profile exit of the summer, with studio founder Jade Raymond also exiting back in May, several weeks after an external playtest reportedly met a lukewarm response. And this comes down here and talks a little bit more about Sony's history with live service games, which frankly recently ain't great. Obviously Concord, which was an enormous failure and very costly to the studio. They have since canceled several other live service games in production, including one based on The Last of Us, another based on God of War. Marathon, under Bungie, which is under the Sony umbrella, is facing a lot of problems. In fact, their original release was scheduled about 2.5 weeks from the posting of this video. It has been moved back. No new release date has been specified. The game has had tremendous gameplay and creative problems, and its future is in question. So Sony has really fought hard for these types of games, and they just have not been producing. They have not been working for them. I don't have any insider information, obviously, on Fairgames' future, but it's already suffering from playtesting. They're losing high-level people, which is often a sign of people abandoning a sinking ship when this happens. If I had to I say right now it's 50-50 odds, but if I had to put money on it and make a decision right now, I would say, as of today, like I said, 6th September of 2025, this game will ultimately be canceled, will not be released. I think they will give up on it because it's just not going anywhere. And I could very well be wrong. It may come out and it could be fabulous. They could fix all the problems. But that would be going against the grain of the odds and history, honestly. So Sony's going to continue to chase these games because they want their Fortnite. They want their NBA 2K. They want these games that are continuous money producers. But, you've got to find something that's going to work, and they just haven't yet. I also have this article from Video Game Chronicle, which was published on Tuesday, September 2nd. Take-Two talks to, quote, save Xbox's Perfect Dark reboot reportedly collapsed. The publisher could have rescued the canceled Xbox game, it's claimed. Take-Two is reportedly in discussions to save Perfect Dark, the reboot, but they collapsed over details of a potential deal. According to Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, who reports the collapse of talks, resulted in an unspecified number of layoffs at Crystal Dynamics last week. Crystal Dynamics was co-developing Perfect Dark alongside the initiative before the game was canceled in July, and the developer closed as part of a sweeping layoff across Microsoft. According to Bloomberg sources, Take-Two was in discussions with Microsoft and Embracer to fund and publish the game, but the deal collapsed in part because companies were unable to come to terms over long-term ownership of the Perfect Dark franchise. Representatives denied comment, etc. And we knew Microsoft laid off a bunch of people this summer. To me, the takeaway here is not necessarily the shame that Perfect Dark was canceled. I never played the original. I know some people really enjoyed it and were looking forward to the reboot, which is fine. And it's unfortunate that game franchises the IPs do slip kind of into a null space where they're never rescued. To me, the takeaway here is this is just another tick mark against Microsoft's gaming community. They have been gobbling up studios, and I'm trying to think of the last few years, other than Activision Blizzard shitting out a Call of Duty, reskin and reboot every, not reboot, but another game that's the same game every year. What other games under the Microsoft kind of pavilion, what other studios are having success right now? What other studios are putting out games? We've seen a lot of cancellations, but we're not seeing a whole lot of successes. Bethesda's last game was Starfield. Didn't do very well. This game was canceled. Fable, which is a first-party Microsoft game, has been delayed and delayed and delayed. We're just not seeing a lot of successes here. And it makes me really, as a Bethesda fan, it makes me really nervous for the future of Elder Scrolls and Fallout in those franchises. I really loved Skyrim and Fallout New Vegas and 4, and all I can say is thank God for the mod community so I can keep playing those games, because who knows what's going to happen with them next. All right, I said I had some good news topics. We're going to start with this one, this article from Dual Shockers, which was published on September 4th on Thursday. Thirsty gamers rejoice as Stellar Blade 2 is officially in development. The thirsty gamers of the world who are desperate for more Eve or Unluck, Shift Up has confirmed Stellar Blade 2 is in development. Stellar Blade 2 is a surprise hit as it faced controversy before launch due to the over-sexualized design of its protagonist. No, it didn't. It faced complaints from Karens who want to squawk to get attention over something that really wasn't a big deal that nobody really cared about. But this turned out to be more of a blessing than a curse, as Stellar Blade was a huge hit, especially when it made the jump to PC and players could mod the game and tinker with visuals, because players are going to goon. It's just the way it is. And it sold 1 million copies on Steam in the first 3 days. It's over 3 million copies total sold as of the last report, so I'd say it's doing pretty good. The developers of Stellar Blade have discussed the possibility of a sequel, and that game is becoming a reality. Shift Up revealed in the financial report work has begun. Yeah, I'm just going to say it. You make a hot chick with a hot body, and you make her your protagonist. If the gameplay is even average or better, it's going to sell. You don't have to like it, but that is the reality of this. And, people are going to look at this picture and go, that's interesting. I want to check it out. And they did. And they ended up enjoying it. Anyway, Shift Up has confirmed Stellar Blade is on the way. We are actively pursuing the franchise development of the IP and are currently in developing a sequel to Stellar Blade. Now, there's no telling when this will be released, but if you enjoyed the first game, for the gameplay, or any other reason, you have something to look forward to in the future. I also have this article over at Insider Gaming, which came out on Tuesday, the 2nd of September. No Man's Sky enjoys resurgence after anniversary update. No Man's Sky is enjoying a huge resurgence on Steam following the anniversary update released last week, reaching heights it had not been at in years. Obviously, if you know anything about No Man's Sky, you know what an absolute mess it was on release and how badly it was panned and how badly it was crushed under the weight of player and critical reviews. However, the people at Hello Games, the devs over there, really deserve a lot of credit for putting in the work. They've been toiling on this game for the better part of the last decade with free releases, free updates, and they have clawed their way back to an overall rating on Steam, at least, of very positive. I flip over to the Steam database page. You can see they're sitting at about 82, 83% positive reviews. Now, for a game that was mostly negative at one point, this is an incredible comeback. And they really do deserve the credit. Not only that, we can scroll down and look and see that they were clocking in at about 7,000 players on average a day. In the last 24 hours, they're up to 100,000. They're hitting 75 to 100,000 players since the release of this anniversary content. So it's really great for the folks at Hello Games. I really wish the best for them. And what gets me is, okay, this talks a little bit more about what I just said. This says, the signs are certainly promising for Hello Games ahead of the release of Light No Fire, the upcoming title for the studio that has been teased with the release date yet to be set. Light No Fire is the 6th most wish-listed game on Steam, behind only Silksong, Subnautica 2, Deadlock, Borderlands 4, and Battlefield 6. And it says, with many of those games due to be released in coming months, specifically Borderlands 4 and Battlefield 6 should be out in the next month or so, the game could rise even higher up the charts. Players reward effort. Your community and the gaming community rewards effort. These guys were bombed. They could have folded. They could have given up. They didn't. They stuck with it, and they're being rewarded now. People are interested and are willing to try another game from them because they worked so hard to claw their way back. And No Man's Sky is enjoying, like it says, the best player counts it has had since its release. So kudos to Hello Games. I wish them the best, and I'm going to be checking out Light No Fire when it is announced. I'll close up with this article from PC Games In, which was published on Wednesday, the 3rd of September. Ubisoft might have killed the crew, but modders are bringing it back. The closure of the online-only open world racer The Crew proved hugely controversial, but a group of modders are working hard to resurrect it. And this article is pretty good. It covered all the things I immediately thought of on seeing this. The shutdown of the crew's online servers was contentious to say the least, helping to kickstart the Stop Killing Games campaign, which it did. This was really the event that really set it off and put it in motion. Unlike some online games which remain playable in single-player mode indefinitely, Ubisoft's open-world racer was shuttered entirely due to its always-on online requirement, meaning those who had paid for it were left with nothing but memory and broken dreams. Now, thanks to a group of dedicated modders, the crew is revving up for a return with a new, albeit unofficial, version. Project lead Whammy 4 has announced, that's a great name, has announced that the Crew Unlimited launcher will release on September 15th. As the project functions as a server emulator, you'll need to own the crew in order to play it, which is fair, and the team are offering access for free. This initial version of TCU, the Crew Unlimited, will allow you to play the racing game in an offline mode. The online functionality is planned to arrive later. We're trying everything to preserve the game. We came to the conclusion that writing a server emulator was the best and only solution, says a dev blog on the project site. This would allow us to effectively implement both an online and offline mode back into the game. Offline mode simply being a local server running on your computer while playing. Your local server, your local save games, your game. No one will ever be able to take this away from you now. Okay. It says, The Crew is just one of several games to be rendered unplayable via the shutdown of its online services. BioWare's Anthem, for example, is shutting down at the beginning of next year. As far as we know, no one's currently working to preserve it. Insert smirking face here, because Anthem sucks, that's why. So, here's the real kicker. Could Ubisoft somehow block TCU's release? Potentially. But considering that you have to own a copy to play and the team aren't charging for their work, could ensure its survival. I think this is great. I think this is the exact thing that Stop Killing Games is trying. The campaign was trying to avoid. The fact that somebody has paid for the game and owns the game, if they can emulate the server and at least play on their own, that to me is a great thing, because this is not costing Ubisoft anything. You have to own the game already to play it, and it's not doing anything but let you play your own game. The real kicker is going to be in how Ubisoft responds to this. Are they going to try and cease and desist this and get it taken down, even for an IP that they literally plan on doing nothing with? That would basically show the true villainy of the company. And at that point, you have to make a personal decision if you can choose to support a company that will do something like this. You know, I love when this guy says that your local server, no one will ever be able to take this away from you now. And Ubisoft is sitting over there in the corner flipping a coin and smoking a cigar saying, want to bet? I am really kind of waiting to see if that happens. In the meantime, though, I think this is awesome. I think this is great that they did this. I think this is great for players who paid for the game and own it. And I hope they're able to continue to enjoy it because this is the way. This is the right thing to do. And I think this is one of the best developments to come out of this story since it happened. All right, we're going to wrap this one up this week. I think I've talked long enough. As always, if you enjoyed this content, please consider dropping a like on the video, leave a comment, and let me know what you thought of one of these stories, or if I missed a big story for the week. And if you're really enjoying the content, please consider subscribing. I'd love to extend my reach. I'd love for more people to see this. And, I like to talk about games, and if people see it, maybe we can strike up some conversations. All good. All right. We're going to call it here. Thank you for tuning in. I will be back next week with more news. Until then, you all go out there, live your best lives, and you all stay gaming.